A confidential report from the International Atomic Energy Agency has been leaked. Its contents are a geopolitical earthquake. Iran has successfully enriched uranium to 84% purity at its Fordow facility. Is the breakout time to a nuclear weapon now effectively zero? And has the window for diplomacy slammed shut forever? The world has crossed a red line that was drawn in invisible ink. The 84% figure is not a sterile statistic. It is a strategic reality. Weapons-grade uranium requires 90% purity. The technical leap from 84% to 90% is not a leap at all. It is a small step, achievable in days, possibly hours. For years, the global security architecture has been built around a single concept: breakout time. This was the estimated period Iran would need to produce enough fissile material for one nuclear bomb. It was a buffer, a tripwire. It was measured in months, then weeks. Today, that buffer has evaporated. The intelligence comes from IAEA inspectors, who detected the highly enriched particles at the Fordow fuel enrichment plant, a facility buried deep inside a mountain near the city of Qom. Its hardened nature makes it notoriously difficult to target with conventional airstrikes. This was not an accident. The report indicates a deliberate reconfiguration of advanced IR-6 centrifuge cascades, a clear and methodical push towards the threshold. This action rips apart the last remaining threads of the 2015 nuclear deal, the JCPOA, which had capped Iran's enrichment at 3.67%. The escalation is staggering in its audacity. Declarations of condemnation are now coming from Western capitals. The White House has convened an emergency National Security Council meeting. London, Paris, and Berlin are issuing joint statements of grave concern. But these are just words. The language of diplomacy is being drowned out by the hum of centrifuges. The critical question is no longer about enrichment. It is about weaponization. The process of converting fissile material into a compact warhead that can be mounted on a ballistic missile. This is the final, opaque step, and intelligence agencies are now scrambling to determine how far down this path Tehran has already traveled. The Iranian government remains silent, offering no official comment on the leak. This silence is strategic. It creates a vacuum of uncertainty, forcing its adversaries to guess its intentions. Is this a tactic to gain leverage for new negotiations? Or is it the quiet prelude to a history-altering announcement? Satellite imagery from the past 48 hours over a Parchin military complex reveals unusual activity. Heat signatures consistent with high-precision manufacturing have been detected from a building long suspected of housing warhead development research. Convoys of covered trucks have been observed moving between this site and a known IRGC ballistic missile base. The data points to a horrifying possibility. The components are not just being built. They may be in the process of being integrated. This intelligence isn't just a concern for diplomats. It has sent a lightning bolt through the global economy. The price of Brent crude oil has surged over 8% in pre-market trading. What does a nuclear Iran mean for the stability of global energy supplies and the security of your investments? The reaction in financial markets was instantaneous and brutal. The specter of a nuclear-armed Iran controlling the Strait of Hormuz, through which 20% of the world's oil passes, is a nightmare scenario for the global economy. Traders are pricing in a dramatically elevated risk of conflict. Insurance premiums for oil tankers transiting the Persian Gulf have quadrupled overnight. Major shipping conglomerates are reportedly rerouting their fleets, adding weeks and billions of dollars to supply chains that are still fragile from previous global shocks. This is not just a regional crisis. It is an inflationary event that will be felt at gas pumps from Tokyo to Texas. Simultaneously, the defense sector is experiencing a massive rally. Stock prices for Lockheed Martin, Raytheon Technologies, and Northrop Grumman have gapped up. Investors are betting that a new, high-tech arms race in the Middle East is now inevitable. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and other Gulf states will undoubtedly accelerate their own military procurement and potentially pursue their own nuclear deterrence, shattering the non-proliferation treaty in the region. The geopolitical fallout is cascading. In Tel Aviv, the Israeli War Cabinet has entered its 10th consecutive hour of emergency sessions. For Israel, an Iranian nuclear weapon is not a strategic threat. It is an existential one. Prime Minister Netanyahu's office has issued a terse statement. All options are on the table to prevent a genocidal regime from acquiring the means to enact its ideology. The language is unambiguous. Washington is caught in a strategic trap. A preemptive military strike carries immense risks of escalating into a full-scale regional war that the United States can ill afford. Yet, allowing Iran to cross the finish line is seen as an unacceptable failure that would permanently alter the balance of power in the world's most volatile region. Further complicating the international response are Russia and China. Both have called for calm and restraint, placing the blame on the West's maximum pressure campaigns. Their diplomatic cover provides Tehran with a crucial shield at the UN Security Council, effectively vetoing any chance of a united international front or crippling sanctions. The world is fractured, and Iran is exploiting these divisions with precision. But inside this crisis, a new layer of complexity is emerging. Whispers are leaking from European intelligence services, sources within Vienna and Brussels, suggesting this final push to 84% was not a unified decision from the Iranian regime. The intelligence points to a hardline faction within the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, forcing the hand of the civilian government and even the supreme leader. This rogue element, frustrated with the pace of negotiations and believing a nuclear deterrent is the only true guarantee of the regime's survival, may have acted unilaterally. This creates an unprecedented level of unpredictability. The world is not dealing with a monolithic state, but potentially with a rogue faction in control of a nearly completed nuclear weapons program. The implications are terrifying. As the diplomatic world reels, the physical world is in motion. The Pentagon has just elevated its global force posture. We are now tracking the USS Gerald R. Ford carrier strike group as it alters course in the Mediterranean. What military options are truly viable? And could a preemptive strike trigger a catastrophic chain reaction across the globe? The chessboard is being set. The pieces are moving with grim purpose. The USS Gerald R. Ford and its escort of destroyers and cruisers are now steaming towards the Suez Canal. This is a clear signal. A carrier strike group brings over 70 advanced aircraft, Tomahawk cruise missiles, and a powerful sensor suite to the doorstep of Iran. It is not the only asset being repositioned. Flight tracking data shows a squadron of B-2 Spirit stealth bombers has departed Whiteman Air Force Base. Their destination is concealed, but the likely forward operating base is the island of Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean, well within striking range of Iran's nuclear sites. These are the silver bullets of the U.S. Air Force, designed specifically to penetrate the most heavily defended airspaces on Earth. The primary targets are known, but they are not easy. Natanz is a large, partially underground facility, but Fordow, the site of the 84% enrichment, is the ultimate challenge. Buried under 300 feet of solid rock and mountain, it is designed to withstand all but the most powerful bunker-busting munitions, like the 30,000-pound GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator. A strike on these facilities would be a high-risk, high-reward operation. It would require multiple waves of attacks involving stealth bombers, fighter escorts, and electronic warfare aircraft to suppress Iran's sophisticated air defense network, which includes Russian-made Psi-300 systems. The potential for a U.S. or Israeli pilot to be shot down and captured is a major factor in the calculus of risk. Israel, for its part, has placed its entire air force on its highest state of alert. Its elite F-35 Adir squadrons, the most advanced stealth fighters in the region, are reportedly armed and ready on the tarmac. Israeli military doctrine has always been rooted in preemption. They have struck nuclear facilities before, in Iraq in 1981, and Syria in 2007. An Iranian bomb is a scenario they have vowed to prevent at any cost. But Iran's response to any attack would be massive and asymmetric. It would not be confined to a single battlefield. Tehran would unleash its full arsenal. This includes thousands of ballistic missiles aimed at U.S. bases in Qatar, the UAE, and Bahrain, as well as major Israeli population centers. The Iron Dome would be overwhelmed by sheer volume. The Strait of Hormuz would be immediately mined. Iranian fast attack boats and drone swarms would target commercial shipping and naval vessels, and Iran's network of regional proxies would be activated. Hezbollah in Lebanon could launch a devastating rocket barrage into northern Israel. Houthi rebels in Yemen could target shipping in the Red Sea. Militias in Iraq and Syria would attack the remaining U.S. forces stationed there. It would be a multi-front war, ignited in an instant. Then, in the last hour, a new development. A sudden and widespread power outage has been reported across the region surrounding the Fordow facility. Simultaneously, all secure communication links between the site and the IRGC Central Command in Tehran have gone dead. The facility is in a total information blackout. This is not a technical malfunction. It is a deliberate, targeted action. The opening move has been made. But by whom? The blackout at Fordow is now confirmed by intelligence sources as a sophisticated cyber offensive. But the attribution is a ghost. Was this a U.S. or Israeli covert operation to blind the facility before a strike? Or something far more dangerous? an internal power grab for control of the nuclear material itself? The digital attack bears the hallmarks of a state-level actor. It is a multi-layered assault, far more complex than a simple grid takedown. The malware appears to have not only severed external power, but also disabled backup generators and corrupted the facility's internal data networks. It's a digital paralysis. It's Stuxnet 2.0, but with a far more immediate and kinetic purpose. Washington and Tel Aviv are officially silent, adhering to a strict policy of ambiguity on covert operations. But behind the scenes, the denial is not absolute. The lack of a firm condemnation is, in itself, a message. It fuels speculation that this is the non-kinetic preparation for an imminent physical strike, designed to sow chaos and confusion in the Iranian command and control structure. This ambiguity creates a terrifyingly dangerous vacuum. From Tehran's perspective, they are under attack. Their most sensitive strategic asset is blind and isolated. The hardliners within the IRGC will interpret this as the final confirmation that their enemies will stop at nothing to deny them their deterrent. This could trigger the very use-it-or-lose-it dilemma that strategists have feared for decades. Believing a full-scale assault is moments away, they could feel compelled to accelerate the final weaponization and mating of a warhead to a missile, assuming they still have control of the facility. But there is another, more unsettling possibility. The cyber attack may not have been external. The same European intelligence sources who flagged the internal IRGC rift now suggest the attack could have been launched by a rival faction within the Iranian regime. A power struggle between the IRGC and the traditional military or intelligence services, escalating into open cyber warfare for control of the nation's ultimate weapon. A civil war fought in cyberspace with a nuclear prize. The world is now teetering on a razor's edge. The global security alert is at its highest level since the Cuban Missile Crisis. The next 24 hours will be decisive. A miscalculation, a misinterpreted signal, or a single rash decision in Washington, Tel Aviv, or Tehran could ignite a conflict that would dwarf anything seen in the 21st century. The situation is developing in real time. The intelligence is still flooding in. The decisions being made right now, in secret, will determine the course of history. To stay ahead of the official news cycle and receive critical updates as this crisis unfolds, subscribe to global_crisis_radar. We analyze the signals so you understand the stakes. Activate your notifications. The world is watching.